comfortable cross bracing, which allowed us to have less structure in the uprights, in the piles, and the bolted on extensions. It's a 420 kilowatt system, 1.1 acres, 736 panels. We will be delivering power actually to a juice plant, which is over here. You see the very edges of our packing house. So this is going to be something, you know, I've appreciated attending at least some of the conversations here, because we really captured a lot of the things that we're going to be looking at and considering. And one thing that Annalisa said Horst was talking about, and I hadn't thought of that, is it may well be that we have greater frost protection under panels, but it also may well be that we're coming out of dormancy much sooner because of a warmer climate under those panels. So it really remains to be seen just how all of this will impact us. But our thinking and our philosophy in designing this system, we want a synergetic relationship between fruit production and power production, with a priority on fruit and fruit quality. So we expect and are willing to give up some of our energy production so that what we want to do and hope to do is demonstrate that we don't just maintain, but we improve tree health, fruit production, and fruit quality. So a lot of these are things we will be monitoring and remain to be seen. This is currently going on as we speak. And for those of you that will go out to the site yet today, we'll see. When I left, I think they had about 7 rows of these piles in. How do I run the video?
There we go.
Charlie, are those aluminum piles?
Steel.
Steel?
Yeah, they're steel. And what you don't get in this video is the rat-a-tat-tat woodpecker sound of that pile driver. It's pretty impressive to see. But it's exciting for this thing finally to be getting started.
What kind of trees?
These are peach trees, O. Henry variety. These normally harvest from about September 5th to September 15th in that location. You know, it is unique, as Horst was talking about here. A lot of agrivoltaics projects and plans anticipate bare ground under which you plant the crop. Where we have existing ground, and we expect a 20 to 22 or 3 year life cycle for the trees. We got to pick a site, and we're not going to change our cycling of trees based on anything agrivoltaic. So they're doing a very good job of pruning off only what they need to get in and drive the piles. And I think it'll be, any loss of trees or production will be recuperated within a year or two. With that said, let me see here. Another factor that's rather fascinating, we are using the track hoe for pile driving, but they've erected a sky crane that will have to be repositioned once, with which they will swing all of the infrastructure above the piles and the panels themselves with no intrusion into the orchard, or no impact on the orchard or orchard floor or soil. Amazing to watch that thing being set up, and it's been a little sad to watch it since October when they first set it up, still waiting for that XL interconnect agreement. As we get on to, I will say I'm much more of less of an idealist, more of a pragmatist. So when I look at, you know, the do we or do we not engage in the agrivoltaic project. And I don't want to cast dispersions on Jordan Energy, but any solar company is going to give you a picture, a case for why this should make sense to you, but it's not always going to be the full picture. So I took that case. If you bring into the conversation tax values, whether it's depreciation or whether it's tax credits or depreciation, you also need to bring into the conversation the things that affect you negatively in taxation, such as that REAP grant, which is fundamental to making it feasible, making a project such as ours feasible. That's a taxable. So you've got to subtract the taxes out of that while so I spent some time looking at 2 or 3 key factors that as a pragmatist matter most to me. One is how long am I out this capital before I effectively break even, depending on what sort of tax or depreciation process we use. In this case, it can be within the 3rd year. I'm break even on a cash flow. That's very compelling to me. With the bonus depreciation being brought back into the equation with the current administration, that's extremely helpful too in making these decisions. So how quickly do we break even? 2, what is the annual and cumulative tax or cash flow? And you can see at the bottom of the adjusted cash flow analysis at the end of a 25-year cycle, then this project looks like it will come ahead just shy of $1 million over that 25-year period after having borne the cost of the installation. The energy value, the energy savings, one thing I like about this, I think we have a built-in 5% increase as an assumption in this spreadsheet every year. But if that energy cost goes up fairly dramatically, so too does the value of what we produce. So that's gratifying. I'm trying to think what else is meaningful in that spreadsheet. A couple of other factors that I've considered, our project is, I think, only about a 35% canopy capture fully deployed, whereas this one here, Horse, is 80%. So that's that, but what I do like about the possibilities as we go forward is once the infrastructure is in place, once the tracking devices are in place, I speculate, and I've not had this conversations with Jordan or anyone else, and as panels become more efficient and less costly, it would be easy to go in a few years, or we find that you know, a double-sided panel and reflective ground covers are impactful. I believe that the cost of going in and changing the panels with the infrastructure in place will be dramatically less and therefore potentially quite feasible. So that's my 2 cents worth. I would be happy to entertain any questions or thoughts. Yes, please.
System cost listed in 16 to 20. Is that inverter replacements or just a reserve?
Yeah, no, that's a Jordan Energy suggestion, and it is 16 to 20 years out. I think it may be like replacing all your tracking gears and your inverters or whatnot, but that's an expected cost that is predictable.
Sorry, question. Okay, I'll ask my question first, and then I'll pass the mic to you. Mark online asks, thank you for sharing this valuable information. Does your spreadsheet include peach production predictions and costs and revenues?
One more time, please.
Does it include, peach production predictions and the cost of revenue?
No, it does not. And if you look at the bottom of the revised side of the sheet, there's 6 different factors that have been discussed here, but my assumption is a net neutral peach production. And where that is dramatically different is if we're able to save a crop from a frost loss, then 100% of that peach production is attributable to that project. And that is on a full crop, about a $20,000 net increase in value.
RNC.
Rec credits, that is a formula that is Excel, and I don't know what the acronym stands for. The horse, do you know what it is? Renewable energy credit. That is something that Excel it's calculated, but they pay based on the size of the system. So it's a subsidy towards the development of that system from Excel.
My question is on the financial side. So there's your energy value, which starts at 5 cents a kilowatt hour. Then you also have the rec values, and you have, REAP grants. To what extent were you the one, applying for the REAP grant or doing any negotiating on the price per kilowatt hour, or is that all on Jordan Energy side doing that negotiation on those grants?
So on the energy value, there's no negotiation there. That's current value and an assumed 2% increase in the cost annually. So that's strictly an assumption. Direct value is also a calculation, and fortunately, when on the first, I didn't change it on the original spreadsheet, it was based on, I think, 0.35 cents. And that number has changed to about 0.46. So that was a nice little boost. And again, we had no input in that number. It's just published by Excel.
Yeah.
The
Thanks for that clarification on the energy savings value. And so that's just offsetting your own generation. So do you anticipate ever producing more than you consume for the farm?
That's a question that I hope can be answered in the future. Right now, REAP grants do not apply to anything back of the meter, front of the meter, where it's going into just energy production for sale to utility companies. That's going to be a whole different set of dynamics. But in my hope, one, we're going to learn a lot in this project. Two, we will have an ear to the ground on the potential viability of unsubsidized continuation of that project over multiple acres. Horst mentioned today that, in Germany, they have structure for hail nets. We had a lot of years between hail and between that and frost. We thought, wouldn't it be nice if we could cover these orchards? Well, the cost is just prohibitive. But if we have a way to cover those orchards and those numbers come into feasible range, then we are already incentivized to cover those trees with some degree of protection for those two main reasons. So, yes, the hope is one day there's a compelling argument for covering hundreds of acres.
Thank you for sharing this. This is really interesting to see just the numbers transparently. Don't get this opportunity with a lot of projects. So, first question, would you be at all interested or willing to share this publicly as a case study? I think there are a lot of farmers out there who'd be really interested to see what this actually looks like for the farm, bottom line.
Yeah, as long as I'm not held to any errors that might exist in the spreadsheet.
I'll follow up on that because I think a lot of farmers would be really interested to see this.
Second question, have you given any thought to marketing the peaches specifically to capitalize on the fact that they're the first agrivoltaic peaches in America?
I have not. I will tell you this, we farm about 480 acres of peaches. This is 1.1. So it's 0.2% of our acreage.
It's very exclusive. I think some people pay a lot of money for that.
I appreciate the thought. I will consider that. We could take that direct to market and put that little sticker on it.
I have a question, Charlie, are you doing okay, are you doing any comparisons of temperature year-round underneath your panel 1.5 or 1.4, whatever you're doing, and orchard right next to it to see what kind of difference? Because what I've learned today, I'm a little concerned about the heat retention of bringing trees out of hibernation in the middle of winter or too early in the spring. Are you doing any of that?
We will be. We will. Yeah, it's yet to be installed, but the equipment, actually, Horst helped me put the monitoring equipment in. We have since removed it for construction purposes, so we don't want to damage it. But we will be. And to your point, I think as we learn, as we go forward, we may want to diminish energy production at some degree in February and March to not bring them forward, but it may be shaded. They stay more dormant. There is one thing unique to peach growers. We're hopeful. We believe a lot of the Cytospora canker infections occur in the winter when we have radiational heat on the south sides of the branches, cold ambient temperature on the north sides, kind of opening that bark up and allowing more spore infections. If we shade more throughout the winter, it may well be, and it remains to be seen, that we will see less Cytospora pressure under the panels.
Right. Plus the benefit of the direct summer heat cooking one side of the peach.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Another thing, back to sharing the spreadsheet, I think the what's more valuable than the spreadsheet itself is just a more comprehensive way to look at all aspects of how you are financially impacted. So the principle, and I took the spreadsheet, worked it over myself, then I sent it to my accountant, and I said, what am I missing? You know, what are my opportunities here to make this work? And I think in that spirit, the spreadsheet would be valuable for another in their analysis of what's feasible in my operation.
Awesome talk. Thank you so much. And honestly, as a farm kid myself, I'm just absolutely astonished at your generosity. I mean, to echo what others have said, this is incredible to be able to share this. I don't think I've ever experienced that. I've lived my whole life in ag. So thank you. I appreciate this. A couple of things. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the different crop as because we can grow a lot of the same process out here. We actually see a flowering delay, and that has to do with more with shade than it does with temperature. And so that's really quite interesting. The other thing with temperature that we found, and this is just me peer reviewing, I see you mentioned Sun Agri. They just presented this last year at the World Agrivoltaics Conference, a study on apples, where actually they studied the sunny side and the shaded side of apples, and they saw a 10 degrees Celsius higher temperature on the sunny side than the other side. So to get to your point you mentioned first this morning, Dan, was exactly what we were kind of hoping. So I don't know if they published that work yet or not. But are you also, to sort of actually ask the question, are you considering evaluating quality? Because that's one of the metrics we're really interested in too, is like the fruit quality. So like, total yield minus culls, or total yield, and then at the different grade levels. Are you planning on that?
We are, and in fact, we're working with here at CSU in a very different Excelsior program where we're monitoring peaches across both geographically and by variety to see if we can't have predictive quality analysis early on, harvest prediction. And another quality factor that Jim brought up is often we have a kind of a bilobal maturation of a peach, where one side of the peach will be more mature, the other still less mature. This, especially with afternoon shading, may diminish both sunburn and that bilobal ripening.
Thank you.
And-
That's the benefit.
And to your point on sharing, my belief, I mean, I'm doing this based on what makes sense in our operation, but my belief is both the vineyard here and the orchard there will be highly sought for just the data that others might be considering if they want to do this, if they want to decide if this is feasible. So I am more than happy to share to the industry what our experience is.
To Jim's point, in addition to what Charlie said, so they're externally in our office. We already done 20 harvests at Talbott in what will become the APV, because it wasn't agrivoltaic yet. So we have base data from the last harvest in what will be agrivoltaics block. And right next to it, we have an area which we call a control, and we also harvested selected trees. And David did the tree count, we went through all of it, it's a toss price evaluations. So we done all that work already, and we're planning to continue doing it, so we can look at not just the yield, the fruit size distribution, the quality, the phenology, et cetera, et cetera. So that's already on the way.
All right. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, everyone. That was really engaging. It's not every day we get to see behind the scenes, so thank you. We are going to pivot to an interactive industry panel. So I'd really like to invite up front here Ian Ward, Angie Burke, and Austin Hazelhurst.